Here's Chuck Thompson.
Thank you very much, Kurt, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Orioles take the field in Game 2, and the weather in Baltimore absolutely ideal. Defensively, here is first baseman Boog Powell, John Wesley Powell, the second baseman Dave Johnson, and the Baltimore shortstop Mark Belanger, and third baseman Brooks Robinson. The left fielder is Don Buford, and Baltimore center fielder Merv Rettenmund, and right fielder Frank Robinson. The catcher again today for Baltimore will be Elrod Hendricks, and on the mound is Jim Palmer. His best pitch, his out pitch, is the fastball. He does have a good curveball. He will on occasion use a slider. However, Palmer went through about one half of the Oriole campaign without really getting interested in the slider. There was a bit of a feeling on Jim Palmer's part that perhaps trying to throw the slider or using it too frequently could hurt his arm. And Palmer has had, like many athletes, his share of physical problems. He was handicapped by an assortment of problems in the back and the right shoulder through years 1967, 68, and 69. Matter of fact, he pitched in only 9 games in 67 for the Orioles. 7 games he worked in the minors. 1968, he pitched only in the minor leagues in 10 games. And in 69, he was on the disabled list for about 6 weeks with torn muscle in the lower back. But Palmer this year has pitched complete game victories in each of his last 3 starts, all on the road, winning 10-1 over the Yankees, 5-0 in Cleveland, and then he clinched the American League Championship Series with a 5-3 victory over Oakland in Oakland. Game 2 from Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, Dave Cash underway. Cash in the first game had 1 base hit in 4 trips. Out of play. One ball, 2 strikes, and that was the Palmer curveball. Palmer today is making his 5th start in World Series competition. And the count will continue. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Dave Cash. Play from Belanger, and that's the first out in Game 2. Pirate fans, I'm sure, must be very happy to have the very strong bat of this man in the Pirate lineup this afternoon. He is among many of the Pirate batters extremely respected by the Baltimore pitching staff and manager and coaching staff. Rich Hebner, he had 271 on the year, had 17 home runs, and that is out of play. Kurt?
Here's a fellow that has an odd job. He's from Norwood, Massachusetts. His father's a grave digger. He helped his dad in the off season. I asked him how he liked the job, and he said there's no back talk.
And 2 strikes now to Rich Hebner. Well, the addition of Hebner and Al Oliver to the Pirates starting lineup adds a total of 34 home runs. And as Kurt mentioned, and I think it bears repeating a few times, there is a very strong wind in Baltimore this afternoon from third toward first. 1 and 2. Hebner, 17 home runs on the year, and also 2 big home runs in the playoffs. That's the Palmer curve, and he misses again. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The wind has been measured at somewhere around 18 miles an hour this afternoon in Baltimore. The kind of a wind that will, as you see, help the left-handed swinger and will hurt the right-handed swinger. So Palmer has reached the full count to Hebner. Gives up walk number 1. On the season, in 282 innings, Palmer walked but 106 batters while striking out 184. He has averaged 3.4 walks per 9-inning game over the past season. A year ago, he averaged about 3 in 1970. Many times broadcasters are accused of, using and overworking the word great, but I think when you refer to the man we're looking at, Roberto Clemente, you certainly can call him one of the greats of baseball. 341 this year. Ball one. Palmer has had, in some starts this year, early inning problems. The problem is physical. It is a matter of getting loose enough in the back, the lower back particularly. So when he is wild, for the most part, you will see him high wild. 1-1. Clemente in the opener against Dave McNally, 2 hits in 4 trips, and a .341 hitter on the campaign.
They're playing Clemente way around toward right. Redmond in right center. Robinson toward the right field line.
2 balls, 1 strike to Clemente. And that's the way the Orioles defensively are set against Clemente. Can and will hit the ball just about anywhere. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And that looked like the good Palmer fastball.
Chuck, when he's right, he can be the most overpowering pitcher on your staff, can he?
I would say yes, definitely. But he needs to be able to throw the curveball for strikes in order to really say he is right. Base hit Clemente. And the Pirates have Palmer in early trouble. And the batter will be Willie Stargell, a .295 hitter on the season, and Stargell hitless in postseason competition. 0 for 17.
This fellow's about due to break out sometime. When he does, it could mean a lot to Pittsburgh.
Stargell's figures on the year, most of you may be aware of, I'm sure. 48 home runs and 125 runs batted in. 1 out. And you see Belanger favoring the bag as a shortstop against the tremendous, sometimes awesome pull power of Willie Stargell. Missed it at that time. 1 ball, 1 strike. Those are the base runners. Hebner at second. Clemente at first. 1 out. Just getting underway in game 2. This is a comment that we've made earlier, and that was just the kind of pitching we expect to see this afternoon. Both Johnson and Palmer will challenge the hitter, and that's exactly what Palmer did in the last pitch to start. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Again, he misses with a curve. 2-2. Palmer fastball. Two out in the top of the first, and now Al Oliver. Al, a .282 hitter in the regular season for the Bucks, with 14 home runs and 64 runs batted in.
He's changed his stance this year. He's dropped back about a foot away from the plate. He used to crowd the plate more last year. Finished very strong with the bat for the Pirates.
That's the Palmer curveball. Powell, pitcher covering. Final out. The Pirates, no runs, 1 base hit, no Oriole errors, and 2 are left. And so in the middle of the first inning, the score is Pittsburgh 0, with Baltimore coming to bat. Well, on the screen, you see the Baltimore coaches. First base coach George Staller, a native Pennsylvanian, I might add, and third base coach Billy Hunter, also a native Pennsylvanian. And now Johnson, who was 9 victories and 10 defeats in the regular season for the Pirates. He attended Bradley University for a year. 7th year as a professional. And the Oriole remembrances of Johnson are the fact that he throws hard. Kurt?
He was in a motorcycle accident in '67, fractured his right ankle, nearly lost a leg. He does not get off the mound very well.
And ball 1 to Buford, who had 2 hits and 4 trips in the first game. Buford hit .290 on the season for Baltimore.
I wonder if the Orioles might try and bunt him, Chuck.
And it'll be interesting to look for that. Robertson to Johnson just in time. And the comment you made, you saw he did have trouble getting there.
You could see that he doesn't get over and cover first with the agility that Palmer does because of that motorcycle accident.
Palmer, along with his ability to throw hard, is also one of the very best fielding pitchers in the American League. Now, Merv Rettenmund, an instant hero, of course, in Game 1 for Baltimore with a 3-run home run. And he finished leading the Orioles at the plate with a .318 average in the regular campaign. I love the call of the plate umpire, Ed Sudoff. Keep an eye on this. Stargell coming over in the corner. The wind is knocking it down, and Stargell is there.
Saturday, that would have been off the wall or up in the seats.
Again, the comment that I think does bear repeating. A cross-field wind from the left field corner to the right field corner, sometimes reaching 18 miles an hour. The batter is Powell, 0 for 3 in Game 1, and a .256 hitter on the year. And he did most of that the final 2 months of the year. And the shift again is in effect for Boog Powell. Fine breaking stuff from Johnson. Strike 1. Boog hit .307 after the All-Star break for the rest of the year. His average was .224 at All-Star time. 1-1 to Boog. That is shortstop Jackie Hernandez. You see right behind Bob Johnson on your screen now. And that's how far around to first the Pirate infield has shifted against Powell. They played him the very same way in the first game. 2-1. Johnson started the third game against the Giants of Pittsburgh last Tuesday, and he won it 2-1, going 8 innings. And this will be a 2-1 pitch to Powell. Cash is there. And that's the final out of the inning. The Orioles are 3 up and 3 down. At the end of 1 inning of play, the score, Pittsburgh nothing, Baltimore nothing. A word about the Pirate coaches now. Don Leppert at first base. This is his 4th season with Pittsburgh. He lives in Greenwood, Indiana. And the third base coach is Frank Osiak. He's in his 9th season with the Pirates. He was with them when Murtaugh had his first tenure as Bucs manager, left, and then came back when Danny returned. Mount Savage, Maryland, or Frostburg, here is Bob Robertson, and he went 0 for 3 in the first game. It looked to me as though Rob was trying to hold up in that swing and just couldn't stop it. So the count then is 2 strikes. Big story about the way the Pirates signed this fellow. And their scout was in there. He wasn't anywhere around. And the fellow said, "Can you wait a few minutes? There's another youngster I'd like you to see." And this is the man he brought over. And what a discovery. 1 ball, 2 strikes. young man had won 3 home run titles in the minor leagues. And that makes the count 2 balls and 2 strikes, and the on-deck hitter is Manny Sanguillen. That's the Palmer curveball. 2-2. Even against that strong crossfield wind, the Orioles play this fella to pull that ball. He missed inside, and Palmer issues walk number 2. This telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Commissioner of Baseball is prohibited. Manny Sanguillen, 0 for 4 in the first game, a .319 hitter on the season. And one of the very best catchers in all of baseball. That's what is known as having a good cut, and Manny's the kind of a fellow who comes out of the dining room swinging. He doesn't take very many. Robertson at first. All you see is just a stump off the bag. And that got plate umpire Ed Sudol. And fortunately, he appears to be all right, but took a pretty good belt.
They have contrasting styles in these batting orders. The Pirates are a swinging club. They draw comparatively few walks, while the Orioles led the American League in receiving walks. They're both good hitting teams. Pirates a better average as a team batting average.
Base hit. Robertson will hold at second base, and the Pirates again have Palmer in trouble in inning 2. Nobody out. Robertson at second base, Sanguillen at first, and Jackie Hernandez headed to the plate.
Sanguillen, although swinging at a lot of bad balls, put 2 strikes on him, really protected the strike zone, and just tried to meet the ball. Slapped it to right. Good hitting by Sanguillen.
Hernandez hit .206 on the year. And the Orioles figure that there might be a little bit of a bunt. Watching Powell coming down the line at first base, he was crowding right up on the infield grass. Now he is backed away. And strike 1 to Hernandez. Two. Now the base running situation at second, it's Robertson. Sanguillen, the runner at first. And nobody out in the Pirates' second. Rettenmund, center fielder. 1 away. And now the pitcher, Bob Johnson, and he's kind of a weak hitting pitcher, an .086 lifetime average in the majors. He's had 9 hits in 105 at-bats, and he struck out 67 times. Actually, this year in 48 at-bats, he was struck out 33 times. looked as though the bunt had been in order. Again, your base runners with one out. Robertson second, Sandge in first. One ball, one strike now to Bob.
So a fellow like Palmer on the mound, Brooks Robinson will try and anchor at third. I mean, he'll give more than half the diamond between the mound and third base because Palmer can get off that mound. They want to get this front man at third if the bunt's successful.
2-1 to Johnson. And again, Palmer, when he does have control difficulty, usually he is high wide. And the 2-1 to Johnson. And a foul bunt. Make the count 2-2. Palmer's second strikeout. And the top of the batting order, the very talented Pittsburgh second baseman Dave Cash. In the first inning, he seemed to get fisted a little bit, ball in on him, and hit a soft line drive. He took a hop in front of Belanger, and he was thrown out. Very strong, as you see, 295 lifetime average. Rettenmund looked like he almost got fooled, but got to it for the final out. And again, the Pirates. No runs, one hit, no Oriole errors, and again, 2 are left. At the end of an inning and a half, the score, Pittsburgh nothing and Baltimore nothing. As the Orioles come to bat against Johnson in the last half of the second inning, it will be Frank Robinson, Elrod Hendricks, and then Brooks Robinson. And in game 1 here in Baltimore, Saturday afternoon, it was Frank Robinson who got the Orioles started somewhat. After Pittsburgh broke on top 3-0, Frank homered. And Frank has hit a home run in 3 of his last 4 series games. And a total of 7 home runs in World Series competition. Out of play. Slider, and he missed. 1 ball and 1 strike. Bob Johnson traded by the Mets to Kansas City with Amos Otis for Joe Foy in December of 1969. And the 1-1. Out of play. 1-2. Traded by Kansas City with infielder Jackie Hernandez and catcher Jim Campanis to the Pirates for catcher Jerry May, pitcher Bruce Dal Canton, and shortstop Freddie Patek in December of 1970. And your on-deck hitter, Elrod Hendricks. 1-2, time. Two and 2 to Frank. In 15 and a third innings against the Orioles, Johnson has allowed Baltimore only 2 runs and 11 hits. And that's the first Baltimore hit of the game. It looked as though, Kurt, that the ball Frank just hit through the middle might have hit Johnson on the foot, kind of a glancing blow.
Either that or it grazed the top of the mound. I was just figuring what a favor Cincinnati did Frank Robinson. 5-6 years ago. He was mad when he was traded by Cincinnati to Baltimore, but he's made up for it with that extra World Series money. 4 pennants in 6 years he's played on here.
He is definitely one of the ball players, and there are quite a few of them in both National and American League, with outstanding leadership ability. It's just inborn, and he is the leader of this Baltimore ball club. Here is Elrod Hendricks hitting .250 on the regular season and went 1 for 4 in the opening game. Yes, sir. Strike 1 to the rod.
This fellow uses one of the heaviest bats in the majors, doesn't he, Chuck? 40 ounces?
That's about it. And with that tremendously slender, willowy build of his, it's, as we mentioned, I think, Saturday, he attracts the nickname Beef.
Beef. They always call the natty dresser in the club Rags.
That's right. That's exactly right. Two strikes now to Hendricks. And continuing along the theme of nicknames, a very well-educated college graduate, Dave Johnson, is quite naturally referred to as Dum Dum. Two strikes to Hendricks. No score. If you just joined us here in Game 2, we're in the bottom of the second inning. 1-2 to Elrod Hendricks. And the on-deck hitter, Brooks Robinson. Two and two to Elrod. This young man was touted to the Baltimore Orioles by one of the most respected names in baseball, Mr. Frank Lane. And he has surprised many people with his ability behind the plate. The 2-2 to Hendricks. That's 3-2.
Speaking of Frank Lane, they used to call him Trader Lane. He traded last night at midnight, giving up 4 players to the Red Sox. The Red Sox sent 6 to Milwaukee. A blockbusting trade involving 10 players has been discussed around the hotel lobbies all morning.
Another one of those population deals or exchange of communities. 3-2 to Elrod Hendricks. We got the opportunity. We will fill you in on the personnel involved in the trade that Kurt was talking about. Some of you may not have heard about it yet. 3-2 pitch coming to Hendricks. Ball 4. Well, the Orioles now bring a little pressure to bear on the Pirate right-hander Bob Johnson and Sam Guillen. If you have not heard about the 10-player trade made yesterday between the Red Sox and Milwaukee, the Boston players traded were pitchers Jim Lonborg and Ken Brett, infielder George Scott, outfielder Billy Conigliaro, and Joe LaHood, and catcher Don Pavletic. Boston received pitcher Marty Patton, Lou Krause, infielder outfielder Tommy Harper, and minor league outfielder Pat Scrabble. And we're getting activity in the Pittsburgh bullpen. Bruce Keeson. Here is Brooks Robinson, 1 for 4 in Game 1. Ball 1 to Brooks. Foul ball. Hendricks returning to first base. and Frank Robinson, the runner at second. A ball and a strike. The Oriole third baseman, Brooks Robinson. Very good pitch from Bob Johnson. Two and two now.
Johnson thought he had the corner on that one. He missed. It was only by an inch. Excellent pitch to Robinson.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Brooks Robinson. Nobody out. Runners first and second. No score. 3 and 2. And Sanguillen again is going to visit Johnson, who is troubled by his lack of control, not being able to get the ball exactly where he wants it. But as Kirk pointed out a moment ago, he's not missing by much, but he still is missing. And the man at the plate is respected, I think, in both American and National Leagues as one of the fine clutch hitters in baseball.
Johnson's got a problem. He can't make this 3-2 pitch too good against a fellow like Brooks Robinson.
Now we're ready to go, and here is the payoff, 3-2 to Brooks. The runners hold. That's a base hit. Frank is going to try to score. There will be no throw, and Baltimore leads 1-0. And that is Brooks Robinson's first run batted in the 1971 series, and here is Dave Johnson. He went 1 for 4 in the opening game, and a very solid .282 hitter over the campaign for Baltimore. Got off to the great start with a 17-game hitting streak. Good breaking ball. Bob Johnson, strike 1. Johnson is one of the better fastball hitters on the Baltimore club. One and one. We showed you a little while ago, Bruce Keeson is still at work out in the Pirate bullpen, still throwing hard. And there are the runners, Hendricks second and Brooks Robinson first. And this will be a 1-1 pitch to Dave Johnson. Whoops, they've got it without any trouble. Almost turned 3 of them.
We almost had a triple play in the World Series. Here's the line drive to Cash. Now Cash will flip to the shortstop Hernandez, the double off Hendricks. Brooks Robinson didn't wander far off first. He alertly stayed there. And you saw Hernandez look to first to go for the triple play, so he didn't have a chance.
And now Mark Belanger, who had the fine first game for Baltimore with 2 hits and 4 trips and a good season, both at the plate and in the field. He hit .266. And here is a fellow that most clubs, and the Pirates are, is played to hit the ball the other way. Ball 1. That is to say, center fielder Al Oliver will favor the alley toward right center. And right fielder Clemente will be a little bit shallow in the right field corner as we look at Brooks Robinson's lead at first base. And that'll be the final out. But the Orioles pick up a run on two base hits and leave one runner. At the end of two, the score is Baltimore 1 and Pittsburgh nothing.
Well, as Jim Palmer's completed his warm-up pitches, his wife, Mrs. Susan Palmer, looking on from the stands. Here's this last out, Belanger, with this wicked smash back to the box. Right back to Johnson, who was there. The last two outs, line drives from Johnson Belanger. And now we go to the third.
And this is Hebner. And against Palmer in the first inning, Rich got the free ticket. Palmer has walked two, has struck out two, and has been nicked for two Pirate hits. 1 ball, 1 strike. Yeah! 1 and 2. Another one of those well-nigh, almost perfect pitches. Just letter high right over the outer corner. Powell at first, unassisted. 1 gone.
We have two big hulking first basemen today that you wouldn't think would be agile around the bag, but they're both excellent defensive first basemen. Boog Powell for the Orioles, Bob Robertson for the Pirates. They're both excellent on throwing balls. They can come up with grounders. And they're steady. They're underrated defensively.
Here is Clemente, and he, as he does so many times, just bashed a single through the middle of center field in his first trip. Ball 1. And Clemente has now hit safely in all 9 of his World Series games. And that'll make it ball 2 to Roberto. That would be 7 games in the 1960 series and 2 games in the 1971 series.
Chuck, if this fella had ever played his career in New York or Los Angeles, big publicity centers, he would have received much more acclaim.
How true. And the count now 2-1. And what a treat, I have seen Clemente, but once before in person, and that was the 1960 Pirate-Yankee World Series. And to see this man in person is, just a great treat. He does it all. He runs, he throws, he catches the ball. Oh, does he hit.
There's his 4th hit.
Second base. And he's going to beat Frank's throw. Clemente with a double. Well, the Pirates continue. They have had men on base, or at least a man on base, every inning. And have not yet broken through on Palmer.
I asked Danny Murtaugh if Clemente slowed down, and he said, not that I can see. And you just saw him the way he went to second. Hasn't lost a step in the outfield. Plays the game hard every way.
Here is Stargell. He struck out against Palmer in the first inning. Missed with a curveball. You see the very distinct and very clear sign from Sudol that, yes, sir, he got around on that hard rising fastball to Palmer. It's Clemente leading second. Nope. 2 balls, 1 strike to Stargell. Three balls. Now Palmer has really got a tough pitch to make to a hitter of the likes of Willie Stargell. And he missed with it. Third walk issued by Palmer. Pirates had runners at first and second with one out in the first inning, did not break through. They had runners at first and second with nobody out in the second inning and did not score. And now with one away, runners at first and second again, and here is Al Oliver. In the first inning, he went out first baseman to the pitcher covering. Ball. And again, you see the control problem of Palmer is again high wide.
Chuck, I don't think there's a batting order in baseball that is any more dangerous of 6 in a row than Hebner, Clemente, Stargell, Oliver, Robertson, and Sanguillen. Those 6 together.
And Palmer, perhaps thinking in the terms that you just expressed, Kurt, could be perhaps pitching a little too carefully. And you see the manager, Earl Weaver, and he looks a trifle concerned, and with good cause. 2 balls, no strikes to Oliver. Palmer came to the fastball and challenged Oliver. 2-1. Pirate base runners, Clemente second, Stargell first. If you just joined us, this is the top of the third. It is Baltimore 1, Pittsburgh nothing. Watching Buford in left field. 2 down. And here is Bob Robertson. He opened the Pirates' second with a base on balls. Though we have mentioned and will repeat that there is about an 18-mile-an-hour wind blowing from the left field foul pole toward the right field foul pole, it really wouldn't bother a fellow like Robertson. When he hits it, it's gone. Ball 1. Palmer, with his control problems in the early innings, has already thrown a total of 60 pitches. 1-1. There are 2 out, but Pirate runners. Clemente second, Stargell first. That's the curveball. A ball and 2 strikes to Robertson. Pitched himself out of a mess. Pirates in the third, no runs, a base hit, and 2 are left at the end of 2 1/2. The score is Baltimore 1 and Pittsburgh nothing. Well, coverage of the third game of the 1971 World Series starts at 12:30 Eastern Time tomorrow in Pittsburgh, with World Series report starring Joe Garagiola and Sandy Koufax. Here is pitcher Jim Palmer in the Oriole third. He, on the year, hit 196. Don't forget about the 7:30 night game on Wednesday. Ball 1 to Palmer. One and 1. Bob Johnson, 1-9, lost 10. Real good fastball. 1 and 2 now to Palmer. be out of play. See how much Palmer is choked up against Johnson. There's a couple of inches of that sticking out. No, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Watch right fielder Clemente and Roberto in that tough Sunfield makes the play for the first out. And the top of the Baltimore batting order, Don Buford. And Buford in the first inning against Johnson was out first baseman to the pitcher covering. It's a very interesting statistic on the screen right now, averaging 98 walks per year in the last 3 seasons.
He would be a better leadoff man in the game than this fella the last 3 years.
Good breaking ball from Johnson, strike 1. Well, naturally, the Baltimore people feel definitely that Buford is the best leadoff hitter in baseball. And a leadoff man with power, 19 regular season home runs, and he's already hit one here in the 71 series. A ball and a strike to Buford. Now it's 1-2. And Rich Hebner, who had been up on the infield grass at third now with a count at 1-2, was able to back off even with a bag. And they played Buford to pull the ball. Oh, good breaking ball from Johnson. And he picks up his first strikeout. So with 2 down, and on your screen right now, Mrs. Nixon, the First Lady of our land, and in a very interesting conversation right now, I'm sure, with Commissioner of Baseball, Mr. Bowie Kuhn. And David and Julie Eisenhower also right alongside the Commissioner. And now here is Rettenman, 2 out, nobody out. Johnson seems to have found a little bit of a groove now, and he is pitching much more in the manner that I'm sure Danny Murtaugh expected of him. 1 strike to Rettenman. 2 strikes to Rettenman. Here comes Cash. And Johnson gets the Orioles in 1-2-3 order. And at the end of 3 full innings of play, the score is Baltimore 1 and Pittsburgh nothing. Top of the 4th inning, game number 2 in the 1971 World Series, and it'll be for the Pirates Manny Sanguin, Hernandez, and then pitcher Bob Johnson as 2 batters to Baltimore's Jim Palmer, who's been in trouble in every inning and yet has been able to battle back and hold the Bucks in check and not give up a run, whereas starter Johnson of the Pirates been in trouble in only 1 inning, and he got burned with 1 run. That's getting burned. Dave Johnson, look out. Ball almost played him.
Now, Chuck, as you know better than anyone, that's the kind of plays that Baltimore infield just comes up with day after day during the season. A tough infield to get a ball by, and they have good, sure hands.
And the fellow who made the play perhaps does not get as much credit as he truly deserves for his defensive abilities, Dave Johnson. Ball 1 to Hernandez. He was out on the fly ball to center fielder Rettenmund in the 2nd inning. Out of play. Speaking of infielders and great defensive plays, an interesting note on the Oriole third baseman Brooks Robinson. The glove that he is using will go on to the Hall of Fame at the end of this World Series. And that glove, you would think was specially designed for Brooks. No. He borrowed it from a Milwaukee outfielder who used to be an Oriole by the name of Dave May. And that also is out of play. So when that one goes on to the Hall of Fame, Kurt, Where do you think Brooks goes for another glove? To another Oriole outfielder by the name of Don Baylor.
He's the outstanding young outfielder in the minor leagues, isn't he?
Correct. Palmer just not able to do with a curveball what he would like to be able to do. The count is 2 balls, 2 strikes to Hernandez. Well, let's see. I don't know whether it has play or not. Powell. No, sir. On the dugout roof and out of play. 2-2. The count continues to Hernandez. Kurt and I just looking at the crowd here at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore for this Monday afternoon, and it looks just like it did Saturday afternoon when the Orioles and the Pirates had a sellout. We have not yet received the figure.
The game was postponed yesterday. The Orioles wanted to play it tonight. The Pirates did not want to play tonight. The Orioles were afraid that many of the people would have to work and wouldn't be here, but this park looks full.
Look out. Ooh, fastball riding up on Jackie, and the count is now 3-2. This is Palmer's 3rd full count. No one blames Hernandez for taking an extra moment or two to just dust off that uniform.
You know, Chuck, they blame TV for just about everything anymore, but a lot of stories had that it was television that was trying to force the night game. It's not true. Baltimore Orioles wanted to play the game tonight. The Pirates did not want it, and the commissioner settled it.
That's a base hit. Number 4 for the Pirates. And we pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network. Well, the Pirates continue. At least a hit an inning and at least a runner an inning against Jim Palmer. And now here is pitcher Johnson. 1 out, and Hernandez, the runner at first base. Ball 1. And as you see, the bunt was in order on the first pitch. And whether they'll keep it in order on the next pitch, we'll wait and see. As you noted, I think in Saturday afternoon's game, Baltimore sometimes will have the bunt on one pitch, take it off, and come back with it. It's on again. 1 ball and 1 strike to Johnson. We mentioned in his first plate appearance, Johnson really not too good with a bat. Your runner is Hernandez at first base. Well, they had the bunt off. Ball and 2 strikes. Well, if you want to guess again or guess along with manager Danny Murtaugh of the Pirates, are you going to put the bunt back on with a count of ball and 2 strikes to pitcher Bob Johnson? No indication of the bunt, and it's 2-2.
I'll tell you one thing, for this stage of the game, Palmer's thrown a lot of pitches.
And has notched another strikeout. His 4th strikeout of the ball game.
And Alan Roth now tells us he's already thrown 75 pitches. About 100 to 120 is ideal for a pitcher in a game. They're only in the top of the 4th, and Palmer's already delivered 75 pitches.
2 down, and the top of the batting order, Dave Cash. Now, Dave has grounded to short and fly to center in 2 previous terms. Palmer with a pretty good move to first base, and that cross-the-body sidearm throw.
Here she goes, Davey! Here she goes! Square!
Strike 1. And again, Palmer is unable to get the strike with a curveball. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. And we've got to, with 2 down, Baltimore 1, Pittsburgh nothing. We're in the top of the 4th inning. And again, you see that sidearm move to first base. This is something that Palmer has tried to learn from his teammate, bullpen right-hander Dave Leonard. Watching left fielder Buford. He's got to go, and he is there. So the Pirates in the top of the fourth, no runs, one base hit, one man left. At the end of 3 1/2 innings of play, the score continues: Baltimore 1 and Pittsburgh nothing. Now let's go down to Tony Kubek.
You know, so far, Chuck and Kurt, I've seen Jimmy Palmer engaging himself in a very difficult task. That of playing Russian roulette with this Pittsburgh great hitting team. He's trying to get his curveball over, he just can't. On the other hand, Bob Johnson in the last inning really started popping his fastball. It looks like he's gotten over those series jitters. So he looks like he's coming on, and Jimmy Palmer's still struggling along. Let's go back upstairs.
In the Oriole half of the fourth inning, it'll be Boog Powell, Frank Robinson, Elrod Hendricks against Bob Johnson. This will be out of play. Powell, with 22 home runs on the year, hit only 6 here at this Baltimore stadium. 16 of them on the road. He's the all-time Oriole home run leader. Again, that wind, which has not as yet been any kind of a factor, but could be, is strong toward right field. One and one. Oh, he got that fine breaking stuff over to Powell. Off-speed curveball, it looked like.
He's looking better now. I think they told him in the third just go out there and throw. He was steering the ball in the second. He looked very sharp in the third. Now he's ahead of Powell.
A ball and 2 strikes to Boog. There is Cash. And again, you see how that overshift of the Pirates really pays off against a hitter like Powell. Be sure to watch the Today Show tomorrow morning as new host Frank McGee starts his second full day. That's tomorrow on Today on NBC.
Number 20, Frank Robinson.
Frank Robinson has one of the 2 Oriole hits and has scored the lone Oriole run. Strike one. Bottom of the fourth inning in Baltimore. Game 2, Baltimore 1, Pittsburgh nothing. One ball, 1 strike. And the Orioles, of course, won the opening game, which is not news to Pirate fans because they also lost the first game of the playoffs and then came roaring right back. 1 ball and 1 strike to Frank Robinson. 1 and 2 now. And as Tony Kubek pointed out a moment ago, very definitely, Johnson is popping that fastball a lot better than he did in the first 2 innings. One and 2. Johnson has now retired 6 Orioles in a row. A relief stint when he was with Kansas City against Baltimore. He retired 12 of the Orioles in a row. Now that's in the hole to left field, and Frank with his second hit and his 4th hit in the series. So both Frank and Clemente have 4 hits in this series so far.
And he hit a curveball that hung right over the plate, waist high. One of the few curves that Johnson hung.
So with 1 out, the Orioles and a runner at first base, and Hendricks, who drew the base on balls from Johnson in that troublesome second inning. Ball 1 to Elrod. Drafted players work out very well. And an example is this man at the plate. Hendricks was drafted by the Orioles from the Angels organization. That's Frank Robinson at first. And he has been hit by the pitch. So Sanguillen now talking to Johnson, who pitched so very, very well in the third inning, and then now just, the base hit to Frank, and now has hit Hendricks and is in a little trouble again.
And the young right-hander, Bruce Keeson, who pitched so brilliantly in the playoffs for the Pittsburgh Pirates, now is warming up again in the Pirate bullpen. A side-arming right-hander.
Here is Keeson. A year ago when a Pirate right-hander, Bob Johnson, was in the American League, he, as a matter of fact, led the league in hit batsmen. He hit 11 of them. He has just nicked Hendricks on the foot or the ankle with a pitch. And the batter now is Brooks Robinson, whose bat accounted for the only run in this game in the second inning. Brooks stepping out just to break the tension a little bit as Johnson made him wait. Good. Strike one. Hendricks at first, Frank Robinson at second, and this was the situation with nobody out in the second inning that saw Brooks Robinson single to knock in the lone run. Now there is one out here in this bottom of the fourth. No, sir, he didn't. A ball and a strike. Two balls, one strike, and Johnson, quite obviously, as we looked at it, the pitch was very close, but just missing. Two balls and a strike. When Brooks faced Johnson in the second inning, he went to a full count before the single. Now it's 3-1. And the troubled Bob Johnson, who had a splendid third inning, just looked like he finally hit the groove and seemed to be continuing as he got Powell to start the fourth inning, gave up the base hit to Frank, then hit Hendricks with a pitch, and now is behind to Brooks Robinson with a count of 3-1. Fair or foul? It is a foul ball. Foul ball. And a full count to Brooks. Here's the 3-2 pitch to Brooks. One away, and the runners are going. Ball four. With one out and a 3-2 to Brooks Robinson, Earl Weaver and the Orioles had him running. So Baltimore now loads the bases with one out. And the batter will be Dave Johnson.
And it was Johnson who came up in the second inning with two runners on and hit a vicious line drive into a double play right after second baseman Cash.
A great opportunity for Baltimore with one out and the bases loaded. Going to be a foul ball. It is a foul ball. Of course, you have to kind of hold up because of that wind, Kurt.
Well, Chuck, they're hitting some vicious foul shots off him now. They're starting the timing.
And again, a little talk between Manny Sanguillen and Bob Johnson. Neither pitcher has been able to retire a batter when they got to a full count, 3-2. Well, the count is strike one to Dave Johnson with the bases loaded, one out in the last half of the fourth inning with Baltimore leading 1-0.
Notice the Pirate infield, it's not quite halfway, just a step or two back from being halfway. They get that ground ball, they'll try and go for the inning double play.
That's exactly where they are positioned, in double play depth. And with a fellow like Johnson, if you get the proper kind of a pitch to him, the chances are good. He hits the ball very sharply. Make a mistake, of course. 1 ball, 1 strike to Johnson. 2-1 now. Brooks Robinson first base, Elrod Hendricks at second, Frank Robinson third. And we're watching quite a battle between Bob Johnson and Dave Johnson. Base hit. Frank scores. Hendricks is coming home. No play to the plate to second base now.
The ground ball just out of the reach between third and short. That was Hernandez diving for it. Stargell does not have a play at the plate on Hendricks, so he goes into second base. 2 runs in for Baltimore. They lead now 3-0. And we're going to have a change. Bill Burden, one of the Pirate coaches, moves to the mound. Johnson got himself in trouble after giving up a single. He hit Hendricks and walked Robinson to load the bases. And so a young right-hander, Bruce Keeson, will step into a nasty situation here in the last of the 4th inning. A break in the action at Baltimore's Memorial Stadium. Our score, the Baltimore Orioles 3 and the Pittsburgh Pirates 0.
And now a word on behalf of the United States Olympic Committee. Thinking of Sapporo, Japan next February? Our top skiers and skaters are Sapporo and the 11th Olympic Winter Games. Now on the mound now, we'll look at an outstanding young right-hander for Pittsburgh. His name is Bruce Keeson. And he's from the state of Washington, and this young man is 6 feet 4 inches and 170 pounds. He's 21 years old, and this is but his 4th pro season. And as you see, he's got a whiplash sidearm delivery. He was 10-4 at Charleston and recalled by the Pirates, and he finished with 6 wins and 5 defeats. And he was the winning pitcher in the final playoff game. Bruce Keeson. And the new batter to Keeson will be Orioles shortstop Mark Belanger. Bob Johnson had an easy first inning and a troublesome second inning. Made but one mistake, actually, in that second inning, in truth, in the walk to Hendricks, and it really cost him because it put Frank Robinson in scoring position. Then he had a fine third inning, and got the first batter here in the bottom of the 4th inning, and then just ran into trouble with a bases-loaded single by Dave Johnson, and Baltimore with a 3-0 lead, and here is Belanger. Ball 1. And again, the base runners, Brooks Robinson, second base, Dave Johnson, first base. What a spot for a 21-year-old youngster. Ball 2. It has been said that mound can be the loneliest place in the world. Here's the 2-0 to Belanger. Ball 3. 3 balls, no strikes to Belanger. Three and one then. And there is activity in the Pirate bullpen. Bob Moose is up and throwing. And there's a left-hander out there with him. Might be Field. Check. Ball 4. And they are loaded again. Brooks Robinson to third. Dave Johnson to second. Belanger to first. And the pitcher, Jim Palmer, has the new batter. Palmer led the Oriole pitchers in runs batted in this year. He knocked in 9 runs. And in just a great spot to aid his own cause with only 1 out and the bases loaded. And again, you see the Pirates will set that infield at what could be called a double play depth, about halfway. Maybe not quite. Ball 1. Missed with a breaking ball. Ball 2. Palmer, I'm sure, as we look at Bruce Keyson, understands full well what this young man has to be feeling because Palmer became the youngest pitcher ever to pitch a shutout in the series, and he did that 9 days before his 21st birthday.
Chuck, this youngster Keyson is engaged to be married to a former student nurse of Pittsburgh, and they set the wedding date for October 17th. The World Series goes 7 games. Keyson will be late for his own wedding.
Ball 4. A walk to Palmer with the bases loaded. And here is Brooks Robinson in with run number 4. So credit Palmer with a run batted in. The bases remain loaded. Baltimore sitting on top of a most productive bottom of the 4th inning. And Bill Verdon again is making an appearance. And I'm not sure whether, yes, he now has signed to the Pirate bullpen. And we'll wait and see whether Pittsburgh is coming with a right-hander or left-hander because Buford here can go from either side of the plate, of course. And they have Veal and Moose out there. Let's see which one of the two will get the call.
He gave the call to Moose. He pointed to his right arm. And Bob Moose will come in to relieve young Keyson, who just couldn't get the ball over. So there's a break in the action again here at Baltimore. And the score now is Baltimore 4 and Pittsburgh nothing. While Bob Moose starts his warm-up pitches, let's switch down to Tony Kubek.
Thank you. With me down here in the commissioner's box, and of course with our first lady, Mrs. Nixon, David Eisenhower. And David, I can't call you Mister anymore because you've got a military title now. What is it?
Yeah, well, I'm ensign. I'm an ensign in the Navy, right?
Where are you stationed?
I'm stationed on a cruiser, the USS Albany, down in Mayport, Florida. So I'm pretty far out of the baseball picture right now, Tony.
You really don't get much of a chance to see many ball games like you used to.
No, I sure don't. I really miss it. We missed the entire playoffs out on a cruise somewhere in the Caribbean, so it's been an adjustment, but I sure am happy to be out here at the series today, I'll tell you.
You think your wife would mind standing up and talking to me? Julie, could you stand up a second? Your mom just refuses to go on TV with me. I don't know what's wrong.
She loves watching you, though. We watched you on Saturday and really got a kick out of you because you seem to enjoy the game so much, but she's TV shy.
Well, you know, I said to her, I wasn't even going to talk baseball. It's just going to be about fashions because we have a lot of female viewers, but she said, no, not even that. Talk to David and Julie.
I think she would have, everyone would have hated her for talking fashions of the baseball game, that's for sure.
I don't know about David. You've seen this Baltimore Orioles team so many times, and they just beat you in so many different ways.
Well, they remind me a lot of some of the teams that you used to play on, Tony. I became a great American League fan because of the Yankees, and I've always felt that American League play is underrated, and I think the Orioles have given the American League a real chance to get that credit that they're due this year by winning this series in a big way.
Let's watch Bob Moose, see if he can stop. David and Julie Eisenhower, thank you so much. Let's go back upstairs.
Thank you very much. And Bob Moose will now be facing leadoff hitter Don Buford. Bases remain loaded with 1 out. Now Buford is 0 for 2, has gone out first baseman to the pitcher covering and struck out. 24-year-old Bob Moose. He was born in Export, Pennsylvania. 11-7 in 30 games with the Bucks this year. And he pitched 3 2/3 innings of relief ball in game number 1. 3 hits and a run. Ball. Johnson third, Belanger second, Palmer first, and the 1-0 to Buford. Now we'll watch Stargell in left field. Tagging is Johnson at third base. And Johnson is coming, and here's the throw. Great looking throw. And Sanguillen held on, and Johnson is out. Boy, what a play. What a great throw from Stargell, and what a tremendously courageous play on Sanguillen's part.
Stargell is very accurate when he's facing the base he's throwing to. He's all set, and he uncorks a perfect throw. Look at this, and watch Sanguillen barged into there by Johnson. And here's the runner coming on now. Really went into him. Sanguillen is shaken up and will just help back to the Pirate dugout. That's the way they like to see that catcher hang in there. That ball, he refused to have it. Look at that collision. Almost reminds you of the Pete Rose collision at home plate in the All-Star game year before last when he barreled into Fosse.
And at the end of 4 innings, the score is Baltimore 4 and Pittsburgh 0. Now to the top of the 5th inning, and again it'll be Hebner to lead off for the Pirates, and the count at strike on that foul ball. And this ballpark still buzzing about that collision between Johnson and Sanguillen. Now the count is 2 strikes. And that is the way the game is meant to be played. Ask no quarter, give none. And Sanguillen with a tremendously courageous defensive play at the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes. You keep asking yourself, how could he possibly have held on to the ball after the impact that he took from Dave Johnson? But he did. Give that man full credit for the great play.
Dave Johnson wasn't too shy about going into him either.
No? As a matter of fact, Johnson has done that twice this year in the regular season play. Powell again could not get the curveball over. The count is 2-2 to Hebner. Palmer with strikeout number 5 on that whistling fastball. On Laugh-In tonight, guest star Edward G. Robinson as a mod world looks at Hollywood with all of the Laugh-In regulars. In the first game, Kurt, I commented to you that I was really surprised about Stargell's fine throw from deep in left field to second base in Game 1, and what a magnificent throw he made to double Johnson.
The Orioles scout report said to respect him. When he has to run laterally, sideways, he's not as accurate as when he can approach and look at the base he's throwing. He's very accurate when he does that.
Ball 1 to Clemente. And Roberto is just 2 for 2 this afternoon against Palmer. A single and a double. And watch Frank Robinson in right field. This ball hit well. He's got it right at the base of the wall. Have you ever seen Clemente hit a bloop?
No.
I don't think I ever have.
Now and then he hits choppers, but I'll tell you, I don't think the ball jumps off his bat. He's about as quick as anyone in base. It just jumps off the bat.
He hits everything so sharp. And here is Stargell, who triggered that great double play to end the bottom of the fourth on a magnificent throw to Sanguillen. Well, that's the kind of a play, World Series or otherwise, you will remember for a long time. Out of play. 1-1 now to Stargell. Two and one. It's like a little kind of a change from Palmer. A big motion, and he took a little off. A straight change. Out of play. Ball 3 with a curveball. Now the count holds 3-2. It's the fourth time that Palmer has gone to a 3-2 count. And he walks him. Palmer's fourth walk, and again the Pirates, as they have every inning here in Game 2, have had at least a man on.
Number 16, Al Oliver.
That wind has changed up now, Chuck, and is blowing from home plate out towards second.
And a hitter's win, and here is Oliver, and Palmer misses with a curve, ball 1. Oliver has gone out first baseman to the pitcher covering, has flied to left field. And there's the change in the wind direction we just mentioned, right out towards center field. Oh, did he have it cut? 1 ball, 1 strike. Notice Powell not holding with the base runner Stargell at first. 1-2. And again, Palmer leaning on the good fastball. Out of play. The on-deck hitter, Bob Roberts. Loosens up with a left-handed swing. 2-2 now to Oliver. Stargell leading first with 2 out. This 2 will be out of play. Changed up on him and got him. And in the top of the 5th inning, no runs, no hits, no Oriole errors, and a man left at the end of 4 1/2 innings of play. It is Baltimore 4 and Pittsburgh.